Hello and welcome to a midweek special of Heart Shaped Boxer podcast. I'm Adam Webster, and this week I have with me, if you've listened to the podcast quite a lot, you'll know I've mentioned these guys before, because every time I seem to mention Liverpool and the music scene, I always mention this promotional company. They are doing great things in the Liverpool area, especially the No Play Festival that is coming up on the 5th of August. So here to tell me all about the No Play promotions is Ted and Grant from No Play Promotions. How you doing, guys? You all right?
Hi, mate. Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Have you had a busy week?
Yeah. We're leading up now to the festival that's happening at the beginning of August, so it's literally just been non-stop on it, Grant.
Yeah, ridiculous. Especially the past few days.
Do you guys, do you both work full time as well as running the promotional company as well?
Yeah, so I work in like tour management and merchandise management, and as well as like working in a bar.
And I work as a freelance sound tech, and I work in a couple of venues and stuff in Liverpool as well.
Cool. So how do you mix the two, like multitasking a busy promotional company, which every week seems to be having different gigs on it everywhere across Liverpool, and then this big festival that's, you know, not only one stage festival, this is a 3-stage festival all in one day. You know, how do you manage it basically?
Basically just never not have our phones on us, but really, isn't it?
Yeah, it never stops. It helps that you like it, and it doesn't feel like work all the time, so you don't feel too bad doing a bit of it at 8 o'clock and stuff, because it's what you want to be doing.
Yeah, it's either like it's either we're on our phones at like 11 p.m. at night, 2 in the morning, or 8 in the morning, or like going for a smoke break at work, replying to a few emails, and just fitting it in where you can, really.
Are you like me? Do you have rules where you kind of put your phone down, you have certain time, family time or whatever, where you put your phone down and you just ignore it for a couple of hours? Or is it completely at the moment out of the question because of everything that's going off?
I try to, but it doesn't really work out like that a lot of the time.
It depends. It depends what it is. A lot of things can wait till the morning when they're late enough. But if it's the right type of issue, I guess you just want to get it sorted straight away.
Is it an attitude you've developed with experience of doing this, or like for me, I'm quite new to kind of like the podcast and the music stuff, and I see a message on my phone and I think that I have to instantly reply, otherwise I lose out on the kind of the lead that it's going to take me down. Was that like, were you guys like that when you first started?
I mean, when we first started, we were just like kids, like literally, I was like 17 and Grant was like 15 or something like that.
Yeah. Children.
Yeah, we were literally just children, just being like, please will you play our show? And then it's kind of just been working, like basically doing it for years and years and years. You kind of figure out your routine with it, I guess.
Yeah, there's so much to it that I don't even think about anymore. And it's only when you talk to other people and you're like, oh yeah, I guess that's like something we've got to consider every time, but you're just so used to it.
Do you think you've considered everything right now? Be it, what is it? Are we 2 weeks away from the festival? Yeah, almost 2 weeks away from the festival.
It's like 3 weeks or nearly 2 weeks, I guess, 2.5 weeks.
By the time this podcast comes out, it will be 2 weeks, but yeah, 3 weeks away. So we say
let's go
3
weeks.
Checked all the boxes.
Yeah, I think one of the main things for us this year, there seems to have been quite a lot of like festival. There's been a lot of festivals that have happened before us this year, and we've been able to see from the back seat where they've gone wrong, and we've been able to kind of iron out problems that might arise like quite early on, which I think's been good, lucky for us.
So go on then. Let's go back to the very beginning. Tell us kind of like the history of No Play Promotions.
So we started back in 2016. I was basically, I met this guy called Adam at a couple of shows, and then I'm trying to think of how. Oh right, yeah. So I basically had nothing to do over the long summer period between going to finishing sixth form and going to university. So I just turned to Adam really boldly and was like, do you want to put on a festival with me? And he was like, absolutely, let's do that. So for our first thing we ever put on was an event called TED Fest that was held in the Magnet up in Liverpool. And we had, instead of just doing like a one show with like 4 bands on the bill, we decided to do a whole festival with 10 bands, like a little all-dayer. And then it kind of went from there. Like it did really well the first year. We had like Lock and Key headline. We had like Anti-Hero, who were like a big local band at the time, playing, and then just like loads of locals as well. Pretty much, I think every single band on that bill is not a band anymore. Funny enough. But yeah, we did that for like 2 years, and then we kind of didn't really want to do the same again, so it kind of grew into, but we wanted to keep putting shows on, so we started our first promoting company called
like
Halfway Home.
Like 2 weeks before TED Fest 2, we put a show on, which was to like raise money to help with TED Fest 2. So we had like the funds to do it, which was, I think, Pine headlined.
Yeah, it was who ended up becoming Decay a few years later. But yeah, it kind of just, the reaction that we had from like just like the local scene within Liverpool was really good. And like when we had like bands like Anti-Hero, who we all met going to their shows, like telling us like, oh, you're 17 and you're doing this, it's so cool, and like getting like, and then like I remember TED Fest 1, we had like the Loathe Boys there, and like to us that was like insane, like that they'd even showed up like to come and support it, because we were just like, we were just kids putting on shows for other kids, really, the way it started. And then we did Halfway Home for a couple of years, and like we really did like grow like a nice little community. But like if you look back on it now, it was the same 40 kids coming to every show. And then when COVID hit, we kind of like hit the brakes on everything. And then after COVID, we decided to just completely rebrand, and kind of, because we'd all like grown and like changed as people, and like we all had a different like idea of where we wanted the event to go, like that the whole thing to go. So we decided to go with No Play, to basically pay homage to Anti-Hero, who were, if it wasn't for that band, none of us would really be doing what we're doing now.
When you come back to when you talked about the TED Fest, so we had Forager on the podcast this week, and I asked him how it came about with them coming onto the festival, and they said, "Oh, we all started when we know about the TED Fests," and then one of them pulled him up saying, "No, it's not called that. That was what we used to call it." So that's so it was obviously like they felt like there was part of this kind of community that had their own little special kind of festival for them. So yeah, I can see where that's coming from with you guys. How did a 17 and 15, was it you, Grant? Sorry,
15.
Able to afford to run a festival the first time then? And I'm taking it you haven't got much like kind of background in the music industry already.
No,
of your ages.
It was literally we all used to go to the same local shows. Like Loathe were our local band growing up, the same as like Anti-Hero and Carson City and other bands like that. And we just kind of were like, we can do that. So me and Adam used to just do like calls and like meet up in town on a Saturday with like notebooks and go like, right, what do you need for a gig? We need a venue, we need bands, we need a backline. And essentially we did the whole thing with no startup money, like at all. We just
wasn't there a deposit on the venue?
No,
like
there wasn't, because I think it might have been 80. I think we'd managed to scrape together some little amount of money to be able to put this. Lucky enough, Catherine Murphy, she's always been brilliant. Shout out Catherine. She just absolutely loved us when we met her, and she was like, yeah, absolutely, like I'll help you do this, like I'll give you the venue basically. And it was kind of like the Wayne's World ethos, like build it and they will come. And it was basically like we started like emailing bands and booking local bands, and the whole premise was like, well, hopefully people buy tickets, because otherwise we don't know what we're gonna do. And luckily people bought tickets, but like I can't even like suggest how DIY it was, because like I made the poster on PowerPoint in sixth form. I printed them out in sixth form, and then like I'd go put them up around town. We even printed out on an A4 piece of paper just like a ticket that said general admission. And then went and met people in town and handed them this A4 piece of paper for that was £7. But yeah, it was very much just like we were 17 and didn't shut up about it and basically hoped people would come. And then I remember, like, I think we were still like a couple of £100 short on the morning of. And like, I remember there was a big queue outside while we were setting up, and like Adam and Grant went outside and just said, "Who hasn't got a ticket?" and just started selling a load in the queue. And then I remember Adam coming running in, going, "We've broke even, we've broke even." Like,
I think Adam cried a little bit. It was great
because it had been because we literally started booking it in like May. And it was happening in August. So like we did it with no time at all.
Give yourself a lot of time for that. Was there a point where you were thinking, this is never gonna we're gonna turn, no one's gonna turn up, why are we doing this?
Oh, I thought that like every day. And like it was so, because I didn't even tell my mum I was doing it because I was worried that I was for some reason going to get in trouble for.
I don't think my parents really understood. I think I told them and they were just like, okay, yeah. Like it's only like years gone. They were like, wait, what were you doing? Like,
you with both of you though, was there ever a point where you wanted to get into music rather than promotions, or?
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's always been like, there's always been the love of wanting to be in a band, but I think I realized quite early on that I'd just rather work with bands. Like I realized I was pretty good at the promoting side, and like the end goal for me was to get into touring. And if this was my first step into it, then I was going to do it right, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think.
What about yourself, Grant?
I used to, but then I fell in love with tech a lot, and I don't really have the time for it, to be honest. I do my tech and I do my promotions, and I'm connected to music enough there, so I don't feel the need to. I get creative outlets to other places. Like you weirdly get a lot of creativity when promoting that I don't think people realize, and if it's our art at times, what we do.
Yeah.
What's the kind of difference now in terms of kind of when you first did the festival, you were approaching bands? Are bands now filling up your inbox more than you approaching bands?
Yeah, we got left on red a lot. And like there was even times like when we were like scouting out the venues for the first ever fest, like back in 2016, over email, the venues would be dead like keen and like, oh, this sounds really good. Like, do you want to organize a meetup? And then we'll go down to the venue, and it was just a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old, like, no, so we're doing this. And then they'd immediately just be like, yeah, no. But like, luckily, one person actually went, you know what, you guys have like, you kids have literally got something here. So like, I'll help you out, kind of thing. So we're very lucky in that. But like, yeah, now we get so many messages like per day, but we'll get bands from like, I don't know, like Southend being like, hey, can we play a show up in Liverpool? And it's like, if we can find the right fit, then sure. But like, there's only so many shows and so many locals really that you can get on with at this current level.
Yeah. I've talked on this podcast quite a few times with kind of like Liverpool as a fan of kind of like heavier kind of music. It's only been the last few years that kind of heavy music's really come back to Liverpool. I do think you guys kind of have a lot to play with that, in the fact that the kind of events you're putting on, you know, you've had in this year, you've had like Luring at the Jacaranda, you've had Cut Short at Jacaranda, you know, both I think sold out the event.
Yeah,
you know,
they both sold out
on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, so they both sold out the Guillotine sessions, which is, to be honest, we didn't know if those shows were going to work very well. But like we just kind of had this, like when we came back post-COVID, we kind of realized there was no locals that can kind of fit. So like when the first, like, I'd say like 6 months of no play was very, like, we were paying extra for bands to come from out of town and other cities to make shows worth coming down to. So I kind of came up with the idea of the Guillotine as a way of like building more locals. And like, so like the idea essentially is it's a £3 ticket. Anyone can flog a £3 ticket to their mates or friends and family. It doesn't really matter where the band is on the lineup, because the idea is that it gives younger bands a chance to play in front of a crowd regardless and kind of build themselves up. And like the kind of idea we've got it in our head is like, if you do a Guillotine and we notice that you've done really well on it, or say you're like a new local band and we've got you on a Guillotine and you've managed to bring 60 kids down, like we'll definitely take notice in that, and then we'll offer you one of the bigger shows that we're putting on, kind of thing. So it's like the idea is like we want bands to want to play the Guillotine to be able to get those bigger shows and kind of grow from it, like that kind of thing.
As two very young kids who started this project, how important is it for you to kind of nurture that growth of bands that are coming through, and especially the local bands as well? Is that something that you kind of put into your business kind of mantra?
Absolutely. I mean, our motto is for the scene, by the scene, isn't it, Grant? Like,
yeah, I mean, I was putting on our shows for about 4 years before I was actually allowed to attend our shows properly, because so much
all
of
the
what we did
venues
had
are
to be
18 plus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always a huge part of wanting to get the kids involved, to let them grow. I've got so much time for young people wanting to be in music.
And I think it's also like we had bands that, because we were too young to go into a lot of the venues, but the bands like luckily for us, like a lot of the bands liked us being at shows, and they also had that ethos. Like I remember Harry Rule literally used to sneak me into shows here and there because he had that ethos, which I think then rubbed off on us. So now that we're in that position, we can now be like, I mean, I'm not saying that we're like letting it under 18s into the shows, because we're quite strict on that when it comes to like the licenses and stuff like that. But we are very much where we can, we will like.
I must admit that is one of the shames with the music scene. Is obviously is the over 18 venues rather than having that kind of 16. That I've got a 16 and a 14-year-old who I'd love to take to more gigs, but unfortunately, you go to places like Jimmy's, Jacaranda, EBGB's, and that because of the licensing laws, which I fully understand. It's an over 18s venue. Would that be something you'd look at doing? Maybe a gig that's focused for that kind of 16 to 18-year-olds. That if you grab them young, then they're that part of that community, and they'll go up through the other venues. Then,
oh,
it's something
definitely.
I've mentioned. It's always something we bring up every now and then, and we're like, have we got the space to do this? Yeah, is this feasible? Because it's a tough issue in Liverpool, especially because it's done on your council, and like Liverpool's council are quite strict on it and want a lot of the venues to be tightly 18 plus. I think Jimmy's has the option to go under, but it has to be like a 9:30 finish, and bands don't really want that because it means an earlier start to the day as well. Like it's
yeah. I think No Play Fest is going to be our first under 18 show, like allowed.
Yeah,
like
the really bigger spaces are better for it, but a kid can afford a £5 show.
Yeah.
One of the things as well with you mentioned before we go on to the kind of like the gigs and that you've always talked about, I noticed on a lot of your posts and stuff, is how you try and keep ticket price quite affordable. You mentioned earlier about the Guillotine sessions at £3 and that, which is, as you said, for me is bonus. For someone who goes to quite a lot of gigs to pay little prices like that for quality bands as well. How do you manage to keep the prices down? Because obviously you've got to get the bands in as well and bring them, but you still manage to bring these big bands in, but manage to keep the prices low. So how do you do it?
I think for like the Guillotines is like we don't go into a Guillotine expecting to make any money. So like we keep our budgets low for those shows. But then like say like a band, we haven't agreed like the biggest fee in the world because they're like, as they're an opener, like if they've done really well and the show's done well itself, we just put the profits back. We'll go give them a bigger fee and say, well done, kind of thing. But I think we're all we all come from like working class backgrounds and stuff, and none of us really grew up having the money to be able to go to like a lot of shows. So it was like, for us, we, especially with the guillotine, like for me, it would be keeping that ticket price £3 was because there was the cost of living crisis that's going on, and I wanted a monthly, and like the Jacaranda as well. They were the ones that approached us about doing like a monthly night, and then we came to them with that idea, and I think it's just having a good relationship with the venues and stuff like that, especially with like Out of Phase. Like they've been really good to us over the years. Like Vesso, who runs Out of Phase, like he remembers booking us in for Ted Fest 1. like he's seen us grow from being like those 15 and 17-year-old kids to what we're able to do now, which has like been really nice to see, really.
I think a part of it that Ted missed as well is like we've literally never paid ourselves a thing.
No.
It's essentially a charity.
Yeah, all the money that gets made through No Play just goes straight back into No Play.
And that protects us when shows fail and don't make enough money. But and it lets us go on to do bigger things like the fest. Lets us save them pots and hopefully grow the whole thing.
Not only with you were saying about kind of like the guillotine sessions being quite cheap, but even if you look at the actual No Play festival itself, for £40 a ticket, you have some massive names. You know, Yannick being the headliner. You know, you go on with the list of the bands that are on there for £40, 3 stages under one roof. Surely, I think we're not making any money on that.
Well, I think we figured it out that like it's something like £1.60 something per band. Like with if you look at it that way. But I think one thing that we wanted to achieve with No Play Fest is more, we weren't, again, the first year is not about making a profit. We want to be able to pay everyone and be able to do it next year. So we don't want to, and like I think as well, like we never want to feel like we're ripping people off. And like I know you said there like, oh, we've got some massive bands and stuff, but there's still that kind of like DIY, like, you know, ethos to us, and it's very much like, I don't know, we just we floated around about the idea of having it as £50, and me and Grant were like, it feels too pricey. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Ticket prices have gone up recently as well.
Massively.
And like
horrendously.
Us going up from £5 tickets was actually one of the biggest discussions we've ever had. And like we because like I mean £5 tickets been a thing since the 90s. Like that's just the price, but like ticket prices I think did have to go up because bands do need paying.
Yeah, and we've had people go to us like, you know, you could charge a tenner for your gigs, and we're like, that feels wrong. Like sometimes, you know what I mean? Like obviously, like when like bigger names come through and stuff like that, and like obviously fees are higher for it because we want to grow the company. Like ticket prices probably will grow up to kind of like go up to like challenge that.
Yeah.
But we're always gonna do it at the bare minimum we can do it at. Really. I don't think No Play will ever change that way.
No, definitely not.
The other thing that you're looking at as well is, yeah, you can pay £10, but it does rule out sometimes the people who don't necessarily know the music. So, for example, I went with a friend to watch the Lurin Guillotine session, and he is not into heavy music whatsoever, especially like kind of hardcore. But because the price was so cheap, he's like, do you know what? For the price of a pint, I'll come and check it out. And he came and absolutely loved it. Was a bit mortified when I think Closed Casket started getting everyone to try and fight each other in the middle of the dance floor. Like, yeah, but he did like it. But he might not necessarily have gone to that if it was a tenner or more, because he'd not heard of any of the bands. He didn't really know the scene. So that's kind of like the swing on that one. So just to kind of play devil advocate on the ticket kind of prices. But however, prices have gone horrendously. Thing like, I looked at tickets for Bring Me the Horizon, and by the time I got on, the cheapest tickets were sitting in like the nosebleeds at like £50. And then I was thinking, that's quite a lot for Liverpool Arena, quite high up. But then a friend of mine at work just bought Taylor Swift tickets 2 nights. 2 nights for 4 of them, 800 quid. There's 4 tickets over the 2 nights for 800
Mate, we
quid.
got 3 stages for 40 quid. Like,
That's what I mean. And better music.
I mean, we ain't got Paramore, so
No, yeah, we can. Then that might be worth the ticket price, but you know,
yeah,
still, I don't.
nah.
I don't know where I go with spending. Like my download tickets were, I paid like the late prices, so I paid like 375 quid. I got 5 days worth of music for that, and I
Yeah,
still haven't spent the amount that people are paying for Taylor Swift. You kind of go, something's going wrong there if that's the case.
yeah. Even our early bird tickets for No Play Fest, they were 25 quid.
Yeah,
And then
that was people with just buying with no lineup, just buying.
yeah, so like one thing we've noticed, like that's a bit different from when we were halfway home to No Play, is that No Play's become like its own little culture within Liverpool. Like we know people buy tickets to No Play shows because it's No Play. Like they may necessarily have not heard the bands before, but they know they have trust that we will put on a band that they will absolutely love. So it's like, I think when we did the early birds, we hadn't even put out the lineup yet, and they went so quickly. Those early birds, like even we were like,
out the second wave because
yeah, we had to put out another wave because we were like,
people
we just
begging
weren't
for them.
expecting. Yeah, everyone was messaging us, being like, they're gone already. Oh my god! Like,
So how did it go? So you kind of touched briefly on it, but let's go from the festivals before we go into kind of like the No Play Festival itself. But talk about kind of like, where did the kind of moving from the little festivals that you put on as kind of like a crazy idea go to then running events in different venues around Liverpool, because you have events in EBGB's, Jacaranda, Invisible Wind Factory, Jimmy's. You know, you're all over the place. How did it go from that festival to all of a sudden being one of the probably biggest rising promotional companies in Liverpool?
I guess halfway home started. I'd moved to London for uni, but we were still wanting to do shows, and Adam and Grant were still up in Liverpool, so we called it halfway home because we were literally from halfway across countries, and like, you know, and it just kind of we just realized like we can do what we did with the festival on a much smaller scale. And then we also had, I remember like literally a week after we did the first Ted Fest, I had the vocalist from Lock and Key messaging me saying, I've got a band package going out. You guys are genuine promoters in my eyes now. Let's do this. So it was kind of like
a lot of the bands from the fest started asking us to book them and stuff, and we were like, I guess then, yeah. And,
yeah, because we didn't really know how to be a promoting company. We just winged it on being a festival, and like,
which
yeah,
we
it
didn't
was,
really know how to be.
yeah. Again, it was literally all just guesswork. It was like, okay, where do we sell the tickets? All right, we figured out we could do it on Music Glue, and then we realized actually we don't even need a ticketing provider. We can sell tickets on Big Cartel.
Big up
Like,
the door list.
Yeah, big, and like, so like we don't actually have physical tickets to any of our shows. It's literally you buy a ticket and your name's on a door list. It's still, and we've done that since 2017, and we're
Obviously
still doing that.
If it's being so much bigger.
The fest will have actual tickets being sent to your door, but like, what's it called? To this day, it's still just the same as it's always been. We just, and like, because I think we just started growing a relationship with, like, as I said, Vesso from Out of Phase, and then I remember Grant messaging me being like, oh, let's put a heavy gig on in the Jacaranda. And at the time, the Jacaranda was a very, very indie venue. And I was like, are you sure? Like the Jack? And Grant was like, no, they want to be a heavy venue. They want to be a heavy venue. So we kind of, who did we put? Was it Static Dress? Like the first heavy band we put on in there?
It was one of them, yeah. And there was Borders was in there originally. We had a couple of like more beat down stuff as well, like really heavy stuff that went off, because it's such a cramped space that it has so much energy about it.
It was definitely trial and error with venues though. Like I remember we did a show at like 81 Renshaw Street, because it was a record store at the front and a little venue at the back. And we put on a show there, and then it went really well, the show, and then we emailed the booker again being like, "Aye, thanks mate, like we'd really love to put another gig on," and he blanked us because I just don't think he wanted metalcore or heavy stuff
Well,
anywhere near it. Like
the name of the headliner was like a 70s prog rock band that he thought we had booked, and it was actually like
a
a
really
very
heavy
heavy
band.
metalcore.
So he
And it
walked
was
in and everyone's like screaming all over the place and like absolutely
Trying to
fighting
kick
each
each
other.
other's heads off.
Yeah. And we
he
had
wasn't.
it was like one of the first God Complex shows as well from like back in the
Oh
day.
yeah.
So like the Liverpool crew who like had just gotten into God Complex were literally there ready to fight. Like
Yeah, I love 81 Renshaw for the vinyl, and I go in there all the time, but it has got a chilled out vibe. I can understand why they would want it, but again, that back room is perfect for a gig. It's got
It
screaming
comes
out
off
for it.
base,
Like,
so I think we used 81 at a time when there like wasn't many other venues open. Like we've seen so many venues close and so many open. Like Jimmy's didn't exist when we started.
yeah, Jimmy's
Like
wasn't a thing. We had like Buyers Club's gone, the Magnet's
Magnet,
gone,
Sound Basement.
Sound Basement not there anymore. Like we've literally like name a venue in Liverpool, we've probably done a gig in there. But it's like, yeah, it was definitely trial and error. And then like Vesso was like, why didn't you start like it's like grow it a bit? And he started putting us on in phase one.
Yeah, we had a couple of good shows there back
And
when
then
it
we
did
put like yeah,
band.
and then we started doing all our shows in phase one, and then we kind of outgrew that a little bit as halfway home. But there was nowhere else for us to really go, and then COVID hit, and then we kind of went back to basics with no play.
Yeah.
there are so many good venues though around Liverpool, and that for this kind of music, you look at EBGBs, you look at Jimmy's and Jacaranda downstairs. You know, there are these, like you said, the energy levels are so good because the rooms are so cramped, and it's really good that this scene's thriving. What do you think? Because you just touched on briefly that there's a lot of venues that you've kind of outlived already. What do you think it is that causes these to close down? Is it that it's simply not the audience for it? Well, it can't be because you're finding that. But what do you think it is that's driving these to close?
COVID killed a lot of them.
Yeah, COVID killed a lot of them. I think also like I think a few of the venues got like noise complaints and
Yeah,
then
noise
got
complaints.
shut down, and like that really sucked because it's like, why
And-
live in an arts district if you're gonna moan?
I know like Buyers Club, the restaurant was making more money and the venue was a hindrance, so they focused on that. Magnet started doing comedy nights and it just made them so much more money. So I think they went on to that and stuff, like went down different revenue streams for some of them as well.
Yeah, like when we came back, it was literally just like it was the Jacaranda or EBGBs, and then there's and then like Maguire's turned into Outpost, and then like Jimmy's started, and then we've got the Kaz now, which we never really used to have back in the day.
We used it. Well, we used it like twice, and then COVID hit because we had the Low Secret show in there.
Yeah, oh yeah, we called that the last gig ever for a while because like literally like a week or like a month or so just before everything went into lockdown, we put on like a last minute Secret Loathe gig in the Casimir, and like that was back when the Cas was saying, yeah, we're 60 cap, and that sold out in like 5 seconds, and then that went ballistic, and then COVID hit, and we were like, wow, can't believe we put on the last ever gig. Like,
so you didn't know going into that was going to be your last gig. COVID wasn't even being mentioned at that point in time.
Well, I was on that Loathe tour doing merch for God Complex, and I remember us all literally talking, going like, "You seen all these shows getting cancelled?" I was like, "Wow, it couldn't be us," like, and stuff like that. And like, I remember I was even chatting to a band about possibly going out to Japan and stuff, and my ma was going like, "No, you're not going there. Like, it's all kicking off." And I was like, I don't know about this. And then like literally like it just all went mad, and we were like, "Oh, sick! All right, well, we can't do this now."
Do you think during COVID that you were never going to come back from this? Obviously, even when the bars opened, the music venues stopped still for another, was it year?
Yeah, I mean, we toyed with the idea of the sit down gigs. Yeah, but we were like, "Can you have a mosh sit down gig?"
Like we never thought we could do anything when they were, because they had like lower percentage capacities, didn't they? And that never felt right for us because so much, like as I said, the energy is from the tight space and stuff, and like we took a while to come back because we were a bit scared of putting stuff on, cancelling it and stuff, and having to go through all that. Like, we waited until gigs were back before we bothered, which is yeah, it was a long time.
It was such a stop-start kind of return, wasn't it? Though, even for everything, I worked in hospitality at the time, and you were going back to work, then you were sent home again, then you were going back to work, then you were sent home again. So I guess for you guys, when you've got a lot of people relying on that income, you can't really plan too far ahead, can you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we
like-
talked about touring before we came back, weren't we?
Yeah, like my first show back, I got to tour manage a band for the Download pilot, and I remember just being at the Download pilot after having like a year of no nothing, and being like, this is surreal. Like, it was absolutely mad. And then like I remember my first sit down gig, and it was the first time I heard a snare drum in 8 months, and I genuinely started crying. And my partner was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh."
That's all I craved throughout COVID. All I said to my missus was, I just want to go to a dirty venue and listen to a dirty band. That's all I want in life. And that was for the whole 2 years of lockdown or however we were in there. That's all I kept saying to my missus too. As soon as it became out COVID, it was like live music every week for me as soon as we could.
Yeah, because even at the Download pilot, it was like the first day, everyone you were seeing friends that you'd not seen in over a year, or whatever it was, and then like the first day, we were all like going to hug each other, being like, "Oh, is this all right?" And then by the second day, everyone was just like, "Get in!" Like, and have big bear hugs, and it was almost like everyone had just forgotten like the past year, and it was it's such a good sight to see.
Talking about the gigs, you've got two planned for upcoming events. You've got one at the EBGBs on the 15th of August, is that correct?
Yeah, we got
Street Soldier headlining.
Yeah, we got a
And
few
then
now.
on first of September. Well, I could only find two, so if you'd like to tell more, that'd be excellent.
We got
I've got the 1st of September. Okay. When's that?
When is that? So we got Street Soldier, Negative Frame, No Relief, and Ego at EBGB's on the 15th of August.
Yeah.
And then we've got Safer Spaces coming back. They're like a proper
Halfway home band.
Yeah, we used to put them on all the time when we were halfway home. So it's nice to kind of finally
acoustic 2-piece emo thing, and now they've got like a full band playing it, so we're so excited to have them back.
And then we've got Dawn Raid and are they called Regana?
I think that's how you say it. They're really cool. They're like a queer 2-piece female thing from was it Washington in America? I think it was. And they're like experimental black metal. It's really cool.
Excellent. Where's the gigs going to go? Are you just going to stay Liverpool, or are you branching out? Are you going to start branching out soon?
We've toyed with the idea. I think one of the reasons we've not done Manchester is because we've always felt that if we do a Manchester show and it goes well, agents are just going to offer us Manchester over Liverpool, and we don't really want to ever leave Liverpool because it's like one of the main.
It's to bring this stuff to Liverpool.
Yeah, the whole point of No Play really is to showcase like Liverpool's actually boss. Like it's got a really good scene, and it's definitely worth a try. But like we've toyed with the idea of like possibly like becoming a bit of a national, like maybe doing where was it we were thinking, like Leeds, Sheffield, London kind of stuff. We're still thinking about it, but we're quite comfortable in Liverpool at the moment.
What about my little town, Southport?
We've not.
we get that look a lot when you mention Southport.
I mean, Adam's from Southport.
Oh, is he? All right.
Yeah, Adam's from Southport. What venues are in Southport?
We've got Chop House, Banff, Ship and Anchor, which are probably the three that do.
That's the one I remember.
Yeah, they do mainly covers, but there's a few bands. There's a band called Slick Cupid who I'd really recommend you to check out. They are a Southport-based band, but they are really good. They're a kind of heavy rock, kind of touching slightly on metal kind of band. They don't do all covers, but unfortunately, at the moment, they seem to have this kind of, if you don't do covers because they're playing on a Friday, Saturday night, that's the kind of music they kind of gear themselves towards. I'd love to see something like the Guillotine Sessions or something like that come to Southport and push here, because I think there is a market for it. There's a lot of young kids that seem to be into the kind of that kind of scene. So to bring it to somewhere like Southport would be ace, but it'd probably take a little bit of work. And
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we used to put, what band was it we used to put on from Southport back in Halfway Home?
A lot, like, because Adam comes from Southport, doesn't he? And then there's a Beyond Recognition.
That's the
And
one.
then False Hope are from Southport.
Yeah, big up False Hope.
Yeah, we've always had a wide, like, we have lots of people from the Wirral, like Ted's from the Wirral, and we've always had people coming over from the Wirral. Widnes, Liverpool music scene, like the heavy scene, has always had people from Widnes in it for some reason.
Yeah, we always had bands from Widnes.
So yeah, we've always gone to the Greater Merseyside.
He's good. I love the whole kind of moment for, like what you were saying about when a bit dubious about going into Manchester because we want to build this scene in Liverpool, and I think that's amazing. I think that's kind of like what really brings me to kind of you guys and what you're doing, because it's been great to see, joking aside with like Southport, but Liverpool itself, have this more heavier scene and seeing it grow. And as I said, I have been to a few of your gigs, and to see them sell out on a Tuesday night is great, because there's not many cities outside of London that would do that with this kind of music.
Yeah, like we had Going Off a couple of months ago, and I remember hearing that they were a bit like, it's a Monday night in Liverpool, like it's
their first ever time playing Liverpool.
Yeah, they'd never played Liverpool before. It was a Monday night, and I think they were a bit like, oh, we'll see how this goes. And then it was a sold out Jacaranda, and like the kids went feral for it. And like we got an email from their agent the next day being like, what did you do? Like that's so cool. Like,
no,
yeah, we love
our weekday
shows. Sorry, we love our weekday shows. It helps get them to Liverpool by offering to take a weekday, and we've done quite well with them.
I think we all want, you know what, we're all looking for something to do. We were all stuck in the house for 2 years, and to go out, and it comes back to what you were saying about ticket prices. When they're fair and reasonable, you go, well, actually, if I'm only going to pay the price of a pint for a ticket, then let's go and see what this band are like. And especially you guys are quite well established now. So, it's a no play promotional gig. Let's go down. Just because we don't know the band, we know they're going to be good. There's going to be at least one on the gig that we're going to fall in love with.
Yeah, and we've got the drinks deals as well for the Guillotine, which I think are a big selling point. Like you can get a £3 ticket and a £2 beer. Like, what more do you want? Like,
it's perfect evening that. Okay, so the main reason why we're here to go before the end of the thing is obviously the No Play Festival. For those who don't know, who haven't been listening to the podcast properly, 5th of August, all-day event at the Invisible Women Factory. It's 3 stages, all under one roof. Tell us about it. So for the people who might go and buy a ticket straight after this podcast, sell the No Play Festival to them right now.
Well, Grant, I'll let you take the mantle on this one.
Oh, man, I'm just so excited for it. Like, we have spent forever on this, and it's actually it's better than what we planned. Like, we wrote out our ideal lineup, and we're like, this is what we're going for. And we cracked on and like speaking to agents and who was available and all that. We ended up with something bigger, which blows me away. Because we were aiming high, and we've done, in my opinion, something special. Like, I think it's going to be a great.
I think it's going to be a real. How do I put it? It's going to be a real chance to show what No Play as a whole is about, what we're actually capable of, and what you can expect for a growing company like us to be bringing. Like the fact that we've only really been like as No Play for just the better half of a year and a bit. And we've been able to put something like this together, which not only showcases like some brilliant like smaller talent, the likes of like, you know, Lauren, Forager, Death Goals, Creek going off, but we've also managed to bring bands like Higher Power, Vukovi and Yonica and even Conjurer. These are bands that like have like, if not played Liverpool at all, they've played it maybe once years ago. And I hope for the bands as well, like they'll actually get to see how Liverpool's changed in that time, or like maybe next time they plan a tour, oh, we might skip Manchester and we'll come to Liverpool.
If I remember right, Yonica's last time he played Liverpool was like in June. No,
it was in 2017, and they played the Shipping Forecast.
That was it. And then Higher Power have never came to Liverpool.
Nope.
And then Vukovi, it was like 5 years as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Conjurer's first ever time playing Liverpool was literally like a month ago, supporting Carcass. Like they'd never played it before, but they had a really good reception. So then I got a message from Brady being like, I actually can't wait to come back.
You've really mixed it up as well with bands from Liverpool and bands from around the country as well. You've got like London-based bands like Knife Pride, and you've got like Graphic Nature and people like that. Who we've had Graphic Nature on this podcast, and for me, Graphic Nature are just one of the most exciting bands around at the moment. Though their album has got to be probably one of the best albums of the year for me.
Yeah, I saw them at Trees, incredible.
Yeah. But other than, you know, you've got also as well like Liverpool bands that are really emerging, like Angel Number, who massively excite me. Can I ask you, are you allowed to say what band is the one that's really exciting you at the moment, that you really have like put on the top of your list? I'm not going to miss them.
There's actually
like picking a favorite child.
There's actually a few like I really like Feed, who are on the Best Life Records stage. They're very much like Narrowhead, Fleshwater vibes, proper wishy-washy 90s, and they're just really sick. Like on the Guillotine stage, I'm so excited. I'm never not excited for Forager.
Yeah, Forager.
Their news track out this week's brilliant as well.
Oh, they're just one of the best bands. Like, and you know when you just watch a band and you just go, they've got it. Like they just need that one person to see them, and they're going to be huge. What about you, Grant?
I've got to shout out the Degenerates, obviously. I love them. I love the messages they push. It's great.
Yeah.
And I think Vukovi, because the first festival I went when I was like 16, I remember watching them play the new stage at Trees and just loving it. And then I think it was the year after they played the main stage, and it was sick. So I'm just so gassed up there on the fest.
How long has the festival taken to organise, and when did it start? Like, obviously it started when you were both 17 and 15, because I'm guessing this is where you've worked up for, but when was the actual organisation of the 2023 No Play Festival start?
November, wasn't it?
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
not that far.
When it first started fucking like going was November. We've been trying to do stuff since August. And I think because we were new, there was times when agents were like, "Oh, we want to see what our plans are first and stuff," and they were waiting to see what other offers came in and that, and like, so like we didn't get our answers straight away, which is understandable. It's a first year festival, but we kind of started planning it pre-COVID, because like we were going to do TED Fest 3.
Yeah, we were actually going to call it TED Fest 3 as well.
Oh yeah.
We kind of started. It was going to be a lot smaller. Because at the time, I think it was going to be like both rooms at the Arts Club, and maybe like also put it on at the put a stage on at the Jacaranda and stuff like that. But obviously COVID then hit, and we just like stopped all plans. And then when No Play started, we were like, we're gonna do a fest again. Like it will happen, and it was kind of like, we had to find our feet as No Play and like where we were as promoters again. And then it was once we started feeling it was once we started getting excited post-COVID and being like, okay, our shows are actually doing really well and people are reacting positively. Like, I think if we did do a festival, people would react pretty well to it. And like, to be honest, I think we've had a better reaction than we thought we were gonna.
Yeah. It's been nothing but love.
What made you decide against Ted Fest then?
Because
Ted killed it.
yeah, it was me. I was very much like, because when we were originally going to do it as Ted Fest 3, it was like we were kind of going to kind of hit that nostalgia market of like getting back the old gang and like, oh, do you remember this? But when it came down to doing it now, it was very much like No Play is a very different company to what Halfway Home was. And we just thought we wanted to do a lineup that like encapsulated what we felt No Play was. And that's why you've got such a variety. You've got like Cameron Hayes on the third stage with Silo, and then you've also got Conjurer and Graphic Nature, and you've also got Yonica and Angel Number. Like that's because like we've never really felt that we're just in one box. We can like the alternative scene is like a huge spectrum of bands. So like even though Silo's quite like indie and electronic and rock and roll, it to us Silo's still a No Play band.
I think No Play band's about energy as well. We love live music. We love sets designed to be live, and like it's all about being fun. That's what No Play shows are. We try and put 4 fun bands on. Yeah, we've tried to do that even more with the fest, and I think we really have. There's a lot of fun bands there. There's a couple of moments that might make you cry though, but that's good. That's the spectrum.
That's it. You're saying how you don't want to kind of put yourself into kind of one bracket with the kind of music you take. Is there kind of like a set criteria that you have in your heads as the three of you to the bands that you play? Or say, for example, if an agent came to you with a band that were very big but not necessarily were completely the opposite of any of the music you've ever played, would you consider putting them on if they were a big draw? Because obviously you have to grow as a business for you guys, but at the same time, from what you've told me today on the show, you've obviously got this very good kind of business plan in your head.
Yeah, I think
we've got something like that happening right now. I won't say the name, but there's someone who's contacted us for a show which is like very much not us, like reggae vibes in there and stuff, and like not what we'd normally do, but we are in discussions with it because it's an exciting show and something that could be cool to do still. So yeah, I think we are
for me,
willing to do anything.
yeah, we're definitely willing. I think for me, at the end of the day, it's like if I check out a band and I really don't feel like it's No Play, obviously we all discuss it, but then there will be bands that come through where it's like it's just not the vibe. Like it would be cool, but I don't think it would work for us. And then there's some bands that come through where they could, I don't know, they could be like a really big indie band, but they have that feeling and like we also believe in it. So it's like, why not? Like,
yeah, I think we have like. Sorry, you go. I think we have seen like stuff we've put on because it felt like it was the right thing to do, that we didn't believe in ourselves not do as well. I think I don't know if it comes across or if it's just like the people feel the same or whatever, but I think that belief helps us with our shows.
Yeah, and I think with Halfway Home, we took quite a lot of shows because we thought that's what you have to do. Like, you know, oh well, if this agent gives us this band, maybe they'll give us the band that we want. But then like, so we've taken it for the sake of taking it, so to make that relationship work, but then it's not really worked out for us because like the people who come to our shows didn't vibe with it, or like it just didn't feel like what we wanted to like portray as the company. So I think there's definitely hits and misses, but that's being a promoting company.
Yeah.
But we're always willing to like try.
For me, when I started this, I got approached by someone to write a review. I used to do it on a website, and I'd write reviews before I'd do the podcast and before I did the radio show. I just simply had a website that I did reviews on, and someone approached me with an artist who had like 30,000 followers on Instagram, and I at that point I was getting maybe 10 views on my website. So I was like, I'll write a review for this person. It was like a country and western solo artist that I'd never heard of, and I was trying to write it, and I was like, I do not like this. So I don't like this music, and it's not that I don't like it. It's just not my vibe. And trying to write a review, and I thought at that point, no, I need to do something that I stick. I do what I love doing, and I'll write and talk about the music that I love doing. That's been my motto ever since. Is that anyone who comes on the podcast, any bands that come on the podcast, I have to love the music. I don't just grab a band that comes on and for the sake of it. I want to feel passionate about it, and I can see that with you guys. You can see that with the gigs you book. It's obviously the music that you enjoy, and you've got this criteria in your head of what fits it. And it's really nice to see from you guys. What's the dream then? As finishing off the podcast, what's the dream for you guys? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? If we're doing like the job interview style question.
I mean, me and Grant have got some big plans.
Yeah, world domination.
Yeah, we're going to start an empire. I think it's just expanding. I think really it'll just be expanding like what No Play can do. So like we've floated the idea of like making an agency one day, maybe starting a production company as part of No Play. Like even like I'd love one day for us to have like a warehouse that we can like have as like our hub, and we can put shows on in it and like kind of thing. And I think it's just finding different ways to expand on what No Play can be, rather than just being promoters.
Yeah, your own venue, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. I think our own venue one day is probably the limelight.
Yeah, and then taking it worldwide.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe in 10 years' time we'll be putting shows on in the States as well.
So, has work started on 2024? Has the festival already started?
Yeah,
coming into fruition.
Yeah, discussions and
we've talked about it. Nothing's like been booked and nothing's been like actually sorted, but we've got a general direction of where we'd like it to go.
Yeah, we've got the game plan. It won't be long until we're doing it. I don't think. It's just like there's so much coming up to this one, and it being our first one, we just want to make it perfect, make sure everything's thought about.
Yeah, we're currently just trying everything in our power to make this year not feel like a big gig and feel more like a festival.
Mm-hmm.
So like we've got we're going to be running the venue next door to Invisible Wind Factory, so North Shore Troubadour. That's going to be our kind of merch area / boutique market. So we'll be having like local businesses like selling stuff as well as band merch and stuff like that. So it's like finding any way to just make it not feel like one big gig in a venue.
Yeah.
Is it going to be food stores and everything as well, or is that?
So there's no like we've not got any like actual food stalls around, but what we've got is there are food places around the venue that we've like let know the event's going on, and they're like more than happy to like they're going to be opening their doors and welcoming everyone, and we'll have signages going to where you can get food and stuff like that. But yeah, being a first year festival, we decided to kind of skip out on that, like getting the actual like scran trucks and stuff.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been amazing talking to you both. Generally has honestly, I was talked about you guys on the podcast several times. You know, you're doing great things in Liverpool, and just talking to you and hearing kind of like your story, the fact that you were both so young when you started this is puts kind of everyone to shame, really. We're all quite lazy then. But
makes me feel 40 and I'm only 25.
I definitely wouldn't have started now.
I'm 40 next year. Don't start that.
The stupidity of youth helps getting involved in promoting.
Yeah,
I guess it does when you've got no worries to a certain aspect, other than feeling that you're going to get in trouble with your mum for putting on a festival when you don't really know whether you are or not. But you know, yeah, I guess that. Whereas for me, it's always something I've kind of dreamed doing, something within promotions, and I've just never had the time or money to do it, so I've always put it, kind of made excuses why not to do it. But guys, honestly, you're doing a really good job, and I'm really happy to have interviewed you today. Good luck with the festival. For all the listeners on board now, there are still tickets available, isn't there? There's only a few, but
Yeah,
tickets
yeah.
available.
a handful of tickets. So go follow No Play Promotions on Instagram or social media, and there's links on there to go and get tickets for the final push of the thing, because I'm guessing by the time the week before the week's done, you'll be sold out with the looks of it, with the way it's going.
Fingers
So
crossed.
get on there, and if you do miss out, then there is on at EBGB's, which is an amazing venue. It's got cabin kind of vibes to it with the tunnel and everything. Go down, check that out with Street Soldier on the 15th of August. Guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you on the 5th of August.
Thank you very much
Thank
for having
you.
us, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.